What up? It's your buddy Incredible Man. Yes, I am back at it again, and this is New Amsterdam Season 4, Episode 5. This be the verse. To be fair, man, this episode was really grounded. And then it just hits you with that huge bombshell at the end, and then it goes off. Let's talk about it, man.
Yo, fight until you make it, yo, don't think it, no, just take it. Don't wait for someone to break it, take control, then don't just fake it. Hey, you can make it happen, you just gotta take some action. Take the ship and be the captain.
This episode had a lot of different things going on in it. There was a lot of different things going on. And to be fair, for me, honestly, I felt like it was a lot. I felt like there was a lot going on, and it really divided your attention going on into everything in this entire episode. That didn't make it bad, but it just was a lot to deal with. We had the case with Max and Veronica. We had Floyd's issues and problems with Lynn and the whole case with his patient. We had Bloom dealing with her mom and Layla. Then we had Sharp and Iggy dealing with their whole thing about memories. Like, there was a lot going on in this episode. And I'm not knocking it because it was a good episode, but like, it just was a lot going on. It was really grounded though, man. It felt really good to watch it because you got something from it. Now, I know a lot of times you get certain things from TV shows or something when you're watching something. You're like, oh well, wow, I can apply that to my real everyday life. But this is something that you could literally apply to your everyday life because it was so grounded in realism in real life, man. It was the whole aspect was diving and delving into the whole past, like letting go of your past and living in the now, living in this moment. Worry about what's happening right now because the past can hold you back and the past can stop you from moving forward. And also, it was one of those things that, you know, sure, the past happened, but life doesn't always go the way that you expect it to either. And that was one of the things that happened this entire episode, and that's one of the things that made it good for me. Let's talk about Floyd's situation right off the rip because it's another one that upset me the most. Floyd is still going on with his whole Lynn situation, and he wanted to be the first black doctor to do an artificial heart replacement. And that's a huge staple, sure. But the fact that you're neglecting a patient to do so is what's messed up, Floyd. Now, him and the whole Lynn situation, she's ready to tell her husband Floyd's not ready. He keeps putting it off, but now it's revolving around his case. And when he finds out that he's been taken off of the rotation for the schedule for the artificial heart surgery, he's a little distraught because he feels that, well, the girl told him that, you know, Dr. Baptiste took him off, and he feels like Lynn's husband is out to get him because he knows. And that's not the case. But if you weren't doing this behind his back and even though they have this weird relationship thing going on, if you wasn't doing this behind his back and if you told him up front already, you wouldn't have this to worry about. But I am with you guys 100%. They messed Floyd up. Floyd was a great character, and now I don't know what they're doing with Floyd. But I feel like towards the end of this episode, he started to get some of that back because his whole situation with Veronica, when he went to talk to her about trying to get back on the rotation, she told him that she's the one that took him off because he neglected a patient. Now, Veronica upset me a lot this episode, but the only thing I can guarantee and wholeheartedly agree with is the fact that she told Reynolds that he needed to be there for that patient. The lady that he had seen and visited, but he really wasn't paying attention to because he was worried trying to get back to that surgery. So now, I don't agree with Veronica at all with nothing she's got going on. But in that particular moment, I was with her 100% because, Floyd, you need to focus on that patient. Now, towards the end of the episode, he started to realize that as well. And he even went and done the adenoid surgery for this lady instead of doing the artificial heart. And, you know, Lynn looked at him with googly eyes and all that type of stuff. But I will give him a huge shout out and props because now he's starting to feel like he's back to the old Floyd. Now I just wish they wrap up this whole Lynn situation because it's annoying me now. Bloom. I felt sorry for Bloom the entire episode because we know how her mother is and we see what her mother does to her just appearing. But this time Bloom was wrong. And I felt like it only came about because of Layla. Had it not been for Layla, Bloom would have completely dismissed her mother yet again, and the serious issue with the mask that she has would have been annoyed not avoided yet again, and she just would have continued to take pills. And now we see that Bloom and her mother might be on the road to redemption a little bit because of Layla intervening. Now, sure, her mother said a bunch of hurtful stuff to Layla, to Bloom, just this whole thing in general. But the fact that Layla got through to Bloom to really see what was going on with her mother and analyze the situation and not focus on the past, which is kind of revolving around the whole situation of the actual episode, and focus on what's happening with her mother in the moment. Now her and her mother can start to build some kind of relationship, because her mother mentions that, you know, she's been ignored about this particular situation, you know, pretty much her whole life. So now Bloom realizes that, you know, she sees her mother in a different light now. And huge props to Bloom as well, man, because that really took a lot of a lot of gusto, if you will, for her to step forward with that and acknowledge that and see her mother in that different light. So huge shout out to her with that. Max and Veronica. There's a lot of issues going on in the world as of right now. Wholeheartedly, I agree, and I back them. Sure, like it, because everybody has their qualms, everybody has problems and everything. But what Max is mentioning is that the hospital needs to be there for the people. It's not about the board members. It's not about the staff. It's about the people. I'm not saying we don't care about staff. I'm not saying that. We care about the hospital staff as well. But the people need to know that the hospital is there for them. And that's the point with the way he decorated the whole hallway lobby of it, with the Black Lives Matter, the COVID memorials, the plaques, and everything. It's there for the people. And Veronica came in and just mashed that all up and just took down everything. And she's trying to make it more susceptible for higher class and higher standard and board members. And she's trying to get all of this stuff going with the Philharmonics, the Manhattan, and all of the New York Yankees. She's trying to get this big old ordeal going for the brand of the hospital, and that's not what a hospital is about. Like I said last time, I know hospitals run on money. I know they need to pay for medical supplies, staff, doctors, the lights, the utilities. I know all of that, but the hospital is supposed to be there to help, and that's what Max was doing. And their whole predicament with the lady that lost her leg and they had stole her harp. That whole ordeal was so real, because I don't know much about Myanmar, but the fact that the dude that the State Department guy that came to take it back, because, you know, since the Manhattan doesn't own it anymore, the heart belongs to Myanmar, and it doesn't belong to the lady, even though it was stolen from her. And granted, it was stolen from her because she was pushed out of her own country at gunpoint. You know, there's a whole big predicament. But in situations like that, that dude, he's just doing his job. And if they were saying that the whole aspect of it was that, you know, well, hey, if I don't do it, I'm gonna be in trouble too, and I might get hurt too. So I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna take this lady's harp. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna take it, because he has a job to do, and he has bosses, he has people that's watching him as well. And the dude, he genuinely seemed concerned about taking it, but he didn't have any other option to take it, since the Manhattan doesn't own it anymore. It's official property of Myanmar. So that whole situation was kind of messed up, and we see Max constantly trying to fight for the lady and fight for New Amsterdam, going back and forth with Veronica. But in that situation with the lady, in that aspect, at the end of the episode, we see that Max is still a little heartbroken that he couldn't officially help her obtain it back. But the Manhattan decided to pay for her new prosthetic leg, and the lady told him, it's okay, the past is the past, I should live in the present. Now, that's good, because it kind of revolves around, like I said, the whole entire episode. And that was really, really good, man. Now, let's talk about Iggy and Sharp. The whole Iggy and Sharp aspect, I knew it was going to cause friction when Sharp was on the stand, and then the plaintiff called in, well, not the plaintiff, the judge. Well, no, the plaintiff did call in Dr. Ignatius Frome as their consult. Now, with that, I knew it was going to cause friction, because Sharp didn't know that Iggy was going to be there, and Iggy didn't know that Sharp was going to be there. Now, with that happening and taking place, Iggy corroborates everything that the defendant, right? No, plaintiff. Anyway, the guy that's going against the girl that Sharp was consulting for, he agreed with everything they were saying, that, you know, repressed memories aren't really accurate, you know, because in that particular moment you could misconstrue some things, so you're really not sure. And the prime and perfect example to take place with that was to deal with Sharp's repressed memory. And it was such a good aspect because Sharp just came heavy on Iggy. She just laid straight into Iggy, telling him, well, it's a good thing that you're not seeing patients, and I would never send an abused woman to you. I should tell them to run. She was laying it on thick because she was upset in that moment, and I get that. But to be fair, now she realizes that, you know, hey, well, oh my gosh, you were right, Iggy. Because her whole predicament, we get to see it in a different light, that her mother is the one that took her away from her father. Her father didn't leave. Her mother took her away from her father. Now, I'm sure there's something going on with that, but her father seemed genuinely concerned, and he just really wanted to be there with his daughter, but her mother wasn't having it. And now she's trying to fly across the pond to go see her mother, and now Sharp is feeling some type of way. She don't know how she should deal with it. But Iggy kind of tells her, you know, you should live in the present, and boom, bam, we get to the part that I'm talking about that in the very beginning of my video that upset me. Max is arguing with Veronica, and she was like, well, if you feel this certain type of way, you shouldn't have left New Amsterdam, or you shouldn't be leaving New Amsterdam. And he was like, well, maybe I shouldn't. And then Sharp walks in. Are you freaking kidding me? We get all of this great stuff with this episode and dealing with everything that's going on, and we see that Sharp and Max are finally in a really good place, a good space, and everything else. And after being tricked the last couple times, I didn't like it, but I understood it. And now we're at a point to where Max is still regretting not going because he doesn't want to leave the hospital in Veronica's hands. I don't want him to leave either, but we're at a point to where him and Sharp are in a good place, and then you spring this on us? Come on, man. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heated, but I'm just saying, we get to that point, and this is what we get it. This is your boy Dick Incredible, man. Don't forget to smash the like button until you can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe, but only if you really want to, man. Peace out.
I cannot complain because today, I'm doing my thing.